A nursing student shot to death in front of her 4-year-old son as they hid from the boy's father in their laundry room. We have details about how that little boy was able to help detectives. Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. This story is just so incredibly sad. Brittany Ligdis was a nursing student in Pinole, California, north of San Francisco. On February 16th, police launched a search for Ligdis's ex, Jeffrey Kendall, after receiving a 911 call that Kendall had shot her as she and their son hid from him in a laundry room. A neighbor's home security camera actually recorded Kendall running away from the house. State troopers captured Kendall later that evening, 90 minutes away in Santa Cruz. Brittany Ligdis's aunt told a San Francisco TV station last month that Brittany's 4-year-old son repeatedly said, "Mommy's dead, Mommy's dead." But police say that little boy helped them with their investigation. Brittany has been described as a sweet person who was working toward her goals. She was also a loving mom. Friends of Brittany's mother have started a GoFundMe page for her. So far, it has raised more than $22,000. Joining me to discuss this incredibly disturbing case is the Public Information Officer for the Pinole Police Department in California. He's Commander Matt Avery. Commander Avery, this case is just beyond the pale. So many of these cases we cover are. So take me back to the very beginning.
On February 16th at about 8:45 in the morning, we received calls in regards to a subject trying to break into an apartment, lower apartment of a house. And it turned out it was the ex-boyfriend of our victim, and tragic case of domestic violence. He broke in, and during the confrontation with the victim, she was shot and killed in the presence of their 4-year-old son.
When you all got there, was the little boy there with his mother, or tell me what you all found?
The 4-year-old had made his way up to the upper portion of the house. It's got a main house on the upper floor and then 2 apartments, and he had made his way up to the upper unit where his grandfather, the suspect's father, lived, and that's where the officers found their son.
Oh my goodness. And it's my understanding, obviously, the 4-year-old witnessed this. I just can't even imagine what that little boy is going through. Do you know how he's doing right now?
I don't know specifically how he's doing. Obviously, very traumatic event for him, as for anyone. He was, very courageous young man. Provided us information, and he is safe with other family members at this time.
Just the fact that a 4-year-old was able to provide information after witnessing his mother being murdered is pretty stunning to me, but I know that the kids are capable of amazing things. Jeffrey Kendall fled, so there was a search for him, so tell me a little bit about that.
We were aided by multiple agencies, and also through the automatic license plate reading technology, we were able to track his movement periodically as his vehicle hit on those different cameras, so we knew the general area he was in. We sent out a statewide bulletin to all of our law enforcement partners, entered the license plate as a felony want vehicle in the national system, and he was picked up down in Santa Cruz by CHP later that evening, and he was taken into custody without incident.
So he wasn't on the run all that long. You
No.
were able to keep up with him, it sounds like.
No, it was, I think, around 10:30, 11 o'clock that night. So fortunately, we were able to, with our allied agencies, take him into custody and get him off the streets quickly.
Were there any other past instances of domestic violence involving Jeffrey Kendall and Brittany Ligdis?
We did not have any records involving calls for service up at that house or between the two of them.
And I know you had asked the public for assistance, but obviously you would want to get him off the street as soon as possible, even though you were able to track him, but you were still wanting the public to call in. Did you all receive a lot of calls letting you know that people had seen him?
We got several calls throughout the evening, and we really appreciated the public's assistance in that. Primarily, it was the license plate reading cameras that gave us the confirmed locations as to where he was. Obviously, when you get a hit on one of those cameras, it's all about having officers in that area at the time. So we knew the general area, but when the license did hit on the cameras, we weren't able to take him into custody at that time. And it turned out just to be a routine traffic stop for driving without headlights on that led to his arrest.
He faces a homicide charge, of course, a domestic violence charge, and then a weapons charge. So tell me a little bit about the weapons charge. And he's accused of having a ghost gun.
Yes, he's those three charges, as you mentioned, what he's facing. He'll be arraigned tomorrow. One charge of an assault weapon. He was found in possession of several guns. I believe it's three. None of them are registered. They're ghost guns, which is a common nowadays, where you can get some parts over the internet or even out of state, and then finish off building the gun, through illegally obtained parts, and even printing them on a 3D printer. And so he was found with multiple guns. One of them was classified as an assault weapon, and that is what he's been charged with, in addition to the homicide and felony child endangerment.
Did he make any statements when he was taken into custody?
No, he invoked his right to silence and representation, so did not make any statements to our investigators.
But back to this whole thing about the ghost guns, really briefly. The ghost guns, that's becoming a bigger and bigger problem.
It's an epidemic across the United States on how to regulate and track the guns, and with technology, it can be a two-edged sword. Technology is great, makes our lives better, but at the same time can lead down to some nefarious roads where if you're not a law-abiding citizen, you can take advantage of that and create safety hazards for law enforcement and the general public.
Commander Avery, you're in law enforcement, so you see the worst of the worst. You see awful, awful things. Have you ever seen a case like this? Domestic violence is obviously awful, but a man accused of killing the mother of his child in front of the child. I mean, he's going to have problems, issues likely for the rest of his life.
No, this is a case that has affected quite a few of us here at the Pinole Police Department, all the way from our dispatchers who took the call to the officers who responded, to the evidence technicians, and even records and our property and evidence specialist. And, most of us have children or grandchildren, and so relate to the tragedy and just the trauma that the 4-year-old son endured that day, and will face throughout his life. It did hit home very closely to for a lot of our officers and personnel, and so just tragic case, and even the the 4-year-old's grandparents, extended family. It's a tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely is a tragedy. And, this is something they'll be living with for the rest of their lives. They'll never get over it. And you guys are, you did what you could do. This is what you can do, is get an arrest and seek justice for the family. Commander Avery, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
Jeffrey Kendall remains in custody at the Contra Costa County Jail, where he's being held on a $1.2 million bond. He was scheduled to appear in court on Friday to enter a plea, but at the time of this recording, that hearing had not yet taken place. We'll stay on top of the case to let you know what happens. That's it for this edition of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you back here next time. Until then, have a great night.